They said it was the cleanest heist in 20 years. $43 million. Gone in 11 minutes. No blood. No witnesses. No mistakes. Except there was one mistake. And it would bring down an empire. My name is Harriet Sinclair. I'm not part of this story. I'm only the one telling it. The Meridian Trust wasn't a bank you could just walk into. It sat on the 40th floor of the Castellan Tower in downtown City A, accessible only by appointment, private elevator, and a security clearance most government officials didn't have. The clientele wasn't listed anywhere. No website. No brochures. If you had to ask about membership, you didn't belong. The robbery happened on a Tuesday night at 11:47 p.m. For people entered through the service corridor using maintenance uniforms and forged credentials that shouldn't have existed. Their faces never appeared on camera. Their voices were never recorded. They moved like ghosts through a building that prided itself on being impenetrable. By 11:51 they had bypassed 3 layers of biometric security. By 11:54 they were inside the vault. The vault itself was a marvel of engineering. Steel-reinforced walls. Nitrogen fire suppression. Motion sensors calibrated to detect a heartbeat from 30 feet away. It held something more valuable than cash. It held secrets. Safety deposit boxes belonging to 17 of the most powerful people in the country. Judges. Senators. Theos. A former cabinet member. One box belonged to Vincent Caris, a hedge fund manager who'd made his first billion shorting the housing market in 2008 and never looked back. Another belonged to Diane Whitlock, a federal prosecutor known for dismantling organized crime families. She'd sent 47 men to prison in the last decade alone. The robbers took everything. Not just from 1 or 2 boxes. From all 17. Hard drives. Documents. USB drives. Envelopes stuffed with photographs that would ruin lives if they ever saw daylight. They loaded it all into reinforced duffel bags and left the same way they came. By 11:58 they were gone. The alarm didn't go off until 12:03 a.m., triggered manually by a night supervisor who noticed the elevator had moved without authorization. By then it was far too late. The first person to find out was Gordon Lyle. Gordon was the chief operating officer of Meridian Trust. A man who wore suits that cost more than most people's cars and spoke in the clipped, efficient tone of someone who'd never been told no in his life. He got the call at 12:47 a.m. while asleep in his penthouse overlooking the harbor. He was at the scene by 1:15. The vault door hung open like a broken jaw. Inside, the safety deposit boxes gaped empty, their contents stripped clean. Gordon stood in the doorway, his face the color of old snow. "Who knows?" he asked. "Just us," said the security chief, a former Secret Service agent named Pruitt. "And the overnight crew. I locked it down immediately." "Good. Keep it that way." "Sir, we have to call the police." Gordon turned slowly. His eyes were flat and cold. "No," he said. "We don't." "Sir, do you have any idea whose property was in those boxes?" Pruitt hesitated. "Exactly," Gordon said. "We call the police, this becomes public. It becomes public, we're finished. Meridian Trust is built on discretion. If word gets out that we've been compromised..." "We have been compromised." Gordon's jaw tightened. "Then we handle it quietly. We notify the clients directly. We offer to make them whole. But we do not involve law enforcement." Pruitt stared at him. "You're going to cover up a $43 million robbery." "I'm going to protect our clients," Gordon said. "That's what they pay us for." The calls went out at 2 a.m. 17 phone calls. 17 conversations that lasted less than 90 seconds each. Gordon delivered the news in the same calm, measured tone every time, as if he were reporting a minor accounting error rather than a catastrophe. Vincent Caris took it the worst. "What do you mean, compromised?" His voice crackled over the line, sharp and dangerous. "The contents of your safety deposit box have been removed," Gordon said. "We're investigating." "Removed? Someone robbed your fucking vault and you're calling it removed." "Mr. Caris, I assure you." "What was taken?" Gordon paused. He'd reviewed the access logs. He knew exactly what had been in Caris's box. "We're still cataloging the losses," he lied. "Gordon." Caris's voice dropped to something quiet and lethal. "What was taken?" "Everything." Silence. "Then, I want a meeting. Tomorrow. Everyone who had a box. I want them in a room. Mr. Karras, I don't care what you think. Set it up. The line went dead. If you're still following the story, like, subscribe and share. By 3 a.m., Gordon had heard back from all 17 clients. They all wanted the same thing. A meeting. No police. No press. Just the 17 of them in a room trying to figure out who just declared war on the most dangerous people in the city. The meeting was set for 6 p.m. the next day. Gordon stood alone in his office, staring out at the city lights, and felt the ground shifting beneath him. He'd spent 20 years building Meridian Trust into a fortress. A place where the powerful could hide their sins without fear. And now in one night it had all come apart. The worst part, he had no idea who'd done it, or why. But as he stood there in the silence, one thought kept circling through his mind like a vulture. What if this wasn't about the money? What if someone wanted what was in those boxes for a reason? And if that were true, if someone had stolen those secrets deliberately, then the robbery wasn't the crime. It was the opening move. The meeting took place in a private conference room at the Ashford Club, a members-only establishment where corporate titans negotiated mergers over aged whiskey and senators brokered backroom deals that never made the news. The room had no windows, no recording devices, the doors locked from the inside. 17 people sat around a table built from reclaimed mahogany, and every single one of them looked like they wanted to kill someone. Vincent Karras sat at the head even though no one had appointed him. He was 52, silver-haired, with the kind of predatory calm that came from destroying companies for profit. He'd made $3 billion in the last market crash alone. To his right sat Diane Whitlock, the federal prosecutor. She wore a charcoal suit and an expression that could cut glass. Her reputation was built on being incorruptible. That was a lie, of course. Everything in that room was a lie. Across from her was Senator Malcolm Priest, 70 years old and serving his 5th term. He'd been in Washington so long that half the current legislation bore his fingerprints. The other half bore his blackmail. There was Rebecca Thorne, CEO of Thorne Media Group, which owned 14 newspapers and 3 cable networks. She controlled the narrative in 6 states. There was Marcus Chin, a tech billionaire who'd built an empire on data mining and facial recognition software that he'd quietly sold to authoritarian governments overseas. And there were 12 others, each one more dangerous than the last. Gordon Lyle stood against the wall, sweating through his shirt despite the air conditioning. "Let's start with the obvious question," Karras said. His voice was soft, almost gentle. "Who did this?" Silence. "Someone broke into a vault that's supposed to be impossible to breach," Karras continued. "They bypassed security that costs us $7 million a year to maintain. They knew exactly which boxes to hit. They took everything and vanished." He leaned forward. "So either Meridian Trust is staffed by incompetence, or someone in this room told them how to do it." Gordon opened his mouth to protest, but Diane Whitlock cut him off. "He's right," she said coldly. "This wasn't some random crew. They had access codes, biometric overrides. They knew the guard rotation schedule. This was an inside job." "That's impossible," Gordon said. "We vet everyone." "Then someone paid off your vetted employees," Senator Priest said. "Or threatened them. Doesn't matter. What matters is what was taken." He looked around the table. "I think we all know what was in those boxes." The room went very still. Rebecca Thorne spoke for the first time. Her voice was measured, careful. "We should clarify our priorities here. The question isn't just who did this. It's what they plan to do with what they stole." "They'll ransom it back to us," Marcus Chin said. "That's the only thing that makes sense. They'll demand payment, we'll pay, and this goes away." "You're wrong," Karras said. Everyone looked at him. "If this were about money, we'd have heard from them already," he said. "It's been 16 hours. No contact. No demands. No threats." He stood up, walking slowly around the table. "Whoever did this doesn't want money. They want leverage. Or worse, they want exposure." Diane Whitlock's face went pale. "That's not possible," she said quietly. "Why not?" Karras asked. "You're the one who prosecutes people, Diane. You know how this works. Someone gets evidence, they don't ask for money anymore. They go public. They blow everything up." "Then why haven't they?" Senator Priest demanded. Karras smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. Because they're waiting for us to tear each other apart first. The accusation hung in the air like poison gas. You think one of us did this? Rebecca Thorne said slowly. I think it's a possibility we can't ignore, Karis said. 17 boxes. 17 of us. What if someone in this room decided they wanted insurance? Or revenge? What if they hired the crew, staged the robbery, and now they're sitting here pretending to be a victim? That's insane, someone said. Is it? Karis turned to Gordon. Pull up the access logs. Every time someone visited their box in the last 6 months. Gordon hesitated, then opened his laptop. His fingers trembled on the keys. There were 43 visits total, he said. Spread across 12 clients. Read them. Gordon swallowed. March 15th. Mr. Chin accessed his box. April 2nd, Senator Priest. April 18th, Ms. Thorne. Skip to the last month, Karis interrupted. Gordon scrolled. July 9th, Ms. Whitlock. July 23rd, Mr. Karis. August 1st, Senator Priest again. August 14th. He stopped. What? Karis asked. Gordon's face had gone gray. August 14th. There's an access record but no name attached. What do you mean no name? The system shows someone entered the vault. Used valid credentials. But the user ID is blank. The room erupted. How is that possible? Someone erased it. Who has that kind of access? Gordon looked like he might vomit. Only 3 people. Myself. The head of security. And... He stopped. Diane Whitlock finished for him. And anyone who could hack your system from the outside. If you're still following the story, like, subscribe and share. Vincent Karis pulled out his phone and made a call. It lasted 8 seconds. I have someone looking into it, he said. We'll know by morning who accessed that vault in August. And then what? Rebecca Thorne asked. Then we deal with them. The way he said it made Gordon's blood run cold. We're not killers, Senator Priest said, but his voice lacked conviction. Aren't we? Karis asked. You sent legislation through that cut healthcare for 3 million people. Diane's prosecutions have destroyed families based on coerced testimony. Rebecca, your media empire has buried stories that would have toppled governments. Marcus, your facial recognition software has been used to disappear dissidents in 4 countries. He looked around the table. We're all killers. We just use different weapons. At 9:47 p.m. Vincent Karis's phone rang. He answered it, listened for 30 seconds and hung up. His face was unreadable. Well, Diane Whitlock demanded. Karis looked directly at Gordon Lyle. The phantom access on August 14th? It came from your office computer, Gordon. Your login credentials. Your biometric signature. Gordon went white. That's impossible. I was in Boston that week. Can you prove it? I have flight records, hotel receipts. Which can be faked, Karis said. Or you flew back for a day. Either way, the access came from you. I didn't do this. But no one was listening. Senator Priest stood up. If Gordon compromised the vault, he needs to be removed. Immediately. Wait, Gordon backed toward the door. This is a setup. Someone's framing me. Marcus Chin was already on his phone. I'm calling our lawyers. We need to contain this before. The door burst open. A woman walked in. Was young, maybe 30, dressed in a black suit that was too expensive for someone who worked for a living. Her face was calm, almost serene. In her hand was a USB drive. Good evening, gentlemen. Ladies. She smiled. My name is Lena Kovac. I'm the person who robbed you. For 3 seconds no one moved. Then Vincent Karis lunged for her. She didn't flinch. 2 men in tactical gear appeared in the doorway behind her, automatic weapons visible but not raised. Karis stopped. Sit down, Mr. Karis, Lena said pleasantly. We have a lot to discuss. She walked to the head of the table and set down the USB drive. This contains everything we took from your vault. Every document. Every photograph. Every dirty secret you've spent years trying to bury. Diane Whitlock's voice was ice. What do you want? Lena smiled. I want you to understand something. This wasn't a robbery. This was an excavation. And what we found, she gestured to the USB drive, is remarkable. Truly. The things you people have done. Name your price, Karis said. There is no price, Mr. Karis. Because I'm not here to sell this back to you. She plugged the USB drive into the conference room's display screen. I'm here to show you that one of you has already been selling you out for years. The screen flickered to life, and 17 faces went pale as they saw what was on it. The first image on the screen was a bank transfer. $3 million. From Vincent Karras's offshore account to a shell company in the Cayman Islands. The date, October 2019. The recipient, Senator Malcolm Priest. That's fabricated, Karras said immediately. Is it? Lena advanced to the next slide. An email. Karras's personal account to Priest's burner phone. The subject line, Infrastructure bill, you're cut. Priest stood up. This is bullshit. Vincent, tell them. Sit down, Malcolm, Karras said quietly. Lena smiled. Oh, it gets better. The next slide showed Diane Whitlock, the incorruptible prosecutor, accepting an envelope from Marcus Chin outside a parking garage. The timestamp read April 2023. 2 weeks before Chen's company avoided federal indictment for privacy violations. You buried my case, Chin said, staring at Whitlock. I did my job, she hissed. Your job was to prosecute me. Instead, you took $200,000 and made it disappear. The room erupted into accusations. Voices overlapping. Denials and threats. Lena let it happen. She just kept advancing slides. Rebecca Thorne had buried sexual assault allegations against a senator in exchange for media contracts. Senator Priest had accepted bribes from defense contractors. Marcus Chin had sold surveillance data to foreign intelligence services. And Vincent Karras, the man who'd called this meeting, had orchestrated all of it. He was the hub, the center of the wheel. Every transaction, every payoff, every buried crime traced back to him in some way. You brought us together, Diane Whitlock said, her voice shaking with rage. You told us Meridian Trust was secure, that we could trust each other. And you could, Karras said, until someone decided to break that trust. He turned to Lena. Who hired you? Who's paying you to destroy us? Lena's smile widened. Why don't you ask Gordon? Every head swiveled to Gordon Lyle, still pressed against the wall. I didn't, he started. August 14th, Lena said. You accessed the vault using your credentials. But you weren't in Boston, were you? You were meeting with someone. Someone who promised to get you out from under Vincent Karras's thumb. She advanced to a final slide. A photograph of Gordon shaking hands with a man whose face was blurred. You've been skimming from Meridian for 3 years, Lena said. Small amounts. Enough to notice if anyone looked. Karras found out 6 months ago. He was going to destroy you. He made a deal. You'd give us access to the vault in exchange for protection. That's not true. Gordon screamed. But Karras was already moving. He grabbed Gordon by the throat and slammed him against the wall. You sold us out. Vincent, I didn't, I swear. Karras's grip tightened. Who did you give the access codes to? I can't breathe. Who? Security pulled Karras off before he could kill him. Gordon collapsed, gasping. And Lena Kovac ejected the USB drive. The real question, she said, isn't who hired me. It's what happens now. She looked at each of them in turn. Because at midnight tonight, everything on this drive, every transaction, every photograph, every email goes live. The FBI, the press, every regulatory agency in the country. Your entire empire burns. If you're still following the story, like, subscribe and share. Unless, Lena continued, one of you wants to make a different choice. Silence. One of you confesses, takes responsibility for all of it. The rest walk away clean. You have until midnight to decide. She turned and walked toward the door. Wait, Diane Whitlock said. Who are you working for? Lena paused in the doorway. Ask yourselves who had the most to gain from exposing you, she said. Who knew about all your secrets? Who you trusted? She smiled. Who's not in this room? The door closed behind her. And 17 people stared at each other with the dawning realization that they'd been betrayed by one of their own. Someone who'd orchestrated the entire thing. Someone who was about to burn them all. The room descended into chaos. Accusations flew like bullets. Diane Whitlock pointed at Karras. Senator Priest blamed Rebecca Thorne. Marcus Chin swore he'd been set up. Gordon Lyle stayed on the floor whimpering. At 11:17 p.m. Vincent Karras's phone rang. He answered without looking at the caller ID. "Vincent." The voice was smooth, familiar. "I assume you've met Ms. Kovac by now." Karras went very still. Thomas Greer. The 18th member. The one who wasn't in the room. Thomas had been Karras's partner for 20 years. His closest friend. The CFO of Karras Capital. He'd been at every meeting, every deal, every crime. He knew everything. "Why?" Karras asked quietly. "Because you were going to throw me to the SEC," Thomas said. "I found the emails last month, Vincent. You were building a case against me. Setting me up to take the fall for the insider trading investigation. That's not. Don't lie to me. Not now. You were going to sacrifice me to save yourself. So I decided to sacrifice all of you instead." Karras's hand tightened on the phone. "Thomas, we can fix this." "There's nothing to fix. At midnight, everything goes public. The FBI already has copies. So does the Times. In 30 minutes, your empire doesn't exist anymore. You'll go down with us." Thomas laughed. "No, Vincent. I won't. Because I've been cooperating with federal investigators for 3 months. Immunity deal. Witness protection. I gave them everything they needed to dismantle your entire operation." The line went dead. Karras dropped the phone. Around the table, 17 people realized they were finished. At 11:43 p.m., Senator Priest tried to run. He made it to the parking garage before 2 FBI agents stopped him. The Ashford Club was surrounded. Had been for hours. At 11:51 p.m., Diane Whitlock called her office and began shredding files. It wouldn't matter. Digital copies were already in federal hands. At 11:57 p.m., Marcus Chin sent an encrypted message to his contacts in Beijing. 3 minutes later, his passport was flagged at every airport in the country. Rebecca Thorne sat perfectly still, watching her empire crumble in real time as news alerts lit up her phone. Her own networks were breaking the story. She'd built a machine that couldn't be stopped, even when it came for her. Vincent Karras did nothing. He just sat at the head of the table, staring at his reflection in the polished wood, and waited for midnight. At 12 a.m. exactly, the story broke. Every major outlet. Simultaneous release. Shadow network of elites exposed in massive federal investigation. The documents flooded the internet. Offshore accounts. Bribes. Evidence tampering. Arms deals. Data trafficking. Every crime, every conspiracy, every buried secret. By 12:15 a.m. the first arrests were made. By 3 a.m. 6 people were in custody. By morning the other 11 were in hiding, but it wouldn't last. The evidence was too comprehensive. Too perfect. Thomas Greer had spent 2 years preparing his revenge. Recording every conversation. Photographing every document. Building an airtight case. And when Vincent Karras finally moved to betray him, Thomas struck first. 3 months later, I sat in a coffee shop and read the final tally. 14 convictions. 3 suicides. Senator Priest died of a heart attack before trial. Or so they said. Vincent Karras got 47 years. He'd be 99 when he got out if he lived that long. Diane Whitlock lost her law license and went to prison for obstruction of justice. The others scattered like rats, their fortunes seized, their reputations destroyed. Thomas Greer disappeared into witness protection. Some say he's in Montana. Others claim he's dead. Either way, he won. He burned an empire to save himself. And in doing so, he exposed a rot that went deeper than anyone imagined. 6 governors resigned. 12 CEOs stepped down. An entire network of corruption collapsed because one man decided he wouldn't be the sacrifice. The robbery wasn't about money. It was about power. And the greatest power of all is knowing when to tear everything down. If you're still following the story, like, subscribe, and share. I closed my laptop and looked out at the city. Somewhere out there, in a new life with a new name, Thomas Greer was probably having breakfast. Maybe he felt guilty. Maybe he slept like a baby. You'd never know. I'm just the one telling the story. But I'll leave you with this. The powerful always believe they're untouchable. That their secrets are safe. That loyalty is bought and paid for. They're wrong. Because eventually someone always keeps score. And when they do, empires fall in a single night.